Here are 5 things that if you're trying to work with other family offices or investors as peers, or if you're raising capital or trying to structure joint ventures like Kevin does, these are ways to get their attention, have people move forward faster, create a relationship, create trust faster. And these 5 things cost you absolutely nothing. Yet almost nobody has them, and every single investor wants you to have these 5 things. And I bet there's only 2 or 3 people in this whole room that have these 5 things in their pitch deck. So it's kind of a crime not to have these things, and we stress a lot of this over many events and masterminds, but many people just don't get all of these together. So these are core, critical capital raising components. First is a short video. A video that is 1, 2, 3 minutes long of your founder on video. This one took me 13 recordings of a 2 to 3 minute video on why you should subscribe to our YouTube channel and get really unique content directly from centimillionaires, family offices like you just saw, billionaires, et cetera. And it took me 13, 14 takes. And I've recorded a lot of videos, so it might take you 40 takes or even longer, right? But this was with a $300 webcam. It wasn't a video crew. And the video is good enough quality to be effective. And so make sure you have a video from your founder on your website, on your pitch deck in the first 3 pages, and on your one-pager. If you don't have a one-pager, like you heard Mark Halpern comment on stage, he has a investor club with 62 investors in it, and he only had 42 investors about 6 months ago, so he's a person of influence, of growing influence. He said he won't even look at a deal unless you have a one-pager. He doesn't have time to go look through a 42-page pitch deck. So make sure you have a video. If you don't have one now, you should commit to have one in the next week or in the month of October. It doesn't cost anything to record a video. People want to know that they can trust you, you're credible, you're an authority, you're an expert, you're someone like them, there's someone they can relate to, they know how you add value, and they judge all of that instantly within just a couple of seconds. And if they start not being able to tell, then they just move on. The answer is no if they can't tell. So that's one thing. The other thing to realize in general is that the packaging of what you're presenting imputes value upon the thing. So Steve Jobs knew that the packaging quality meant that it was respected and valued much higher. So many of you here have 20 years experience in real estate development or in IP negotiations, et cetera. But if you have an AOL email address and you don't have a one-page website even, and your logo is clip art or purple font with an italic slant on it in PowerPoint, like you're just not doing yourself justice. And it might sound like really basics 101, but when you look at all 5 or 6 of these things I'm gonna mention, they're just not in place with many people. This is an example of the first book I wrote. It's literally a bunch of hedge fund blog posts about capital raising family offices and hedge funds. My head is cut off in the picture. It's at a conference I was speaking at in Monaco. There's no subtitle to the book. And Bank of America tells me there's 6,000 Richard C. Wilsons at Bank of America. So not having my middle initials mistake, not having a subtitle for the book, having the worst design ever, that all makes me look bad. But despite that, it got some traction, got some momentum, but it just makes you look not credible, et cetera. The next one is through Wiley. Didn't really like their book design cover either. So when we design things now, we try to design it for a very specific market niche, very specific positioning. We try to have a subtitle that de-risks the fact in this case that they might not know what a centimillionaire is. So we talk about the top 6 challenges that $100 million net worth families face. We have it look like blueprints because we're talking about putting together strategies and plans for family offices, and our URL is on the cover of the book. So the recommendation here is not to go out and write a book right now. It is that when you put something out, put it out to be clear, hit some target demographic between the eyes, and have it be professional and institutional quality if you can. On the left, an example of non-institutional quality. On the right, institutional quality. Waikiki, can you raise your hand here? Sitting right up front, of course. So Waikiki's a friend who's been in the club for, 4 to 6 years or so, I'd guess. He's probably been to 24 of our events. He's at our mastermind this summer. And his company name was Dynastic Development. And I said, hey, look, I don't know if you do personal development or do you develop ground up senior living. I'm not quite sure. Obviously, when people meet with you, they can be sure. But it should immediately be obvious either why they should work with you, what you do and where you do it, or something to make them lean forward. And so we help them rebrand into CRE Construction Partners, and they help oversee and manage construction projects as like an owner's rep overseeing those projects to make sure the things stay on time. It's kind of like almost a GC for a GC, et cetera, which is a unique role. And so that's why we position that way. And he said it's been amazing that tweak and look at more institutional quality and more clear. Same with Access Loans. I was the number 2 investor in this company. They were able to sell it to a bank recently, and that was their logo before we helped them design a more Silicon Valley fintech feeling looking logo. And we can't claim that the logo is why they got acquired, but I think it just helps. Another example here, motel to apartment conversions. They were called Iron Toro Capital. They did explain to me one time what Iron Toro means, and I cared and I listened, and I have no idea today what it means. So that's why we changed it, right? It just, people email you all the time and you're like, what do these people do again? I know they told me at the event, but I can't remember. There's 300 people there, right? So motel to apartment conversions, you can probably guess what they do. Here's an example of a case study to have in your materials. People need to visually know what you do. When you say that you do equipment leasing, what is the collateral? What does the collateral look like? What does the asset look like? When you say if you invest in multifamily, most people are not buying skyscraper multifamily assets in city centers, but on pitch decks I see a lot of clip art gotten photos of skyscrapers on a multifamily pitch deck, and it doesn't represent what you really got. It's better to have a grainy picture. It's not quite full HD, but it's literally you walking the ground. So it's a video of you showing the oil and gas tech device or the venture capital deal you did and walking through the manufacturing floor where your device is at work, et cetera. So make it real, make it tangible, and it's much more believable, credible, and people will just understand more. Visuals, like they say, it says 1,000 words, and you need to have a visual on your one-pager in your pitch deck. Almost nobody has this that says what's your value add in the industry or business. So they look at the picture and they know your value add immediately. You don't need a paragraph and 7 bullet points even. So that's really critical, having key visuals. And this costs almost nothing these days to do. You can create it yourself. You can go on Fiverr and create it for $20, or you could hire a more high-end designer and spend less than $1,000 if you want to. These are examples of one-pagers when we referred to them before. So again, visual, show who's on your team, show pictures of the top executives, show the key visual that we just talked about, show the logo that's institutional quality, et cetera. Also, make sure you show a one-liner. I can't believe how many people do not have a single sentence that is high conviction, makes people lean forward, and is different than what anybody else is saying or can say in their industry. Saying you have a best-in-class team doing world-class projects doesn't really mean anything, because everybody says that, and those are flimsy words, and a cynical, busy person that's a skeptic is going to say, well, who thinks they don't have a world-class team, right? It means almost negative value. And so we helped one of our club members design a one-liner that was over 13 years. They closed 475 hard money loans and only lost money on 2 of those loans. So that shows like they didn't start this business yesterday, but doing it for a long time. Or say you have your 22-person team, or 192 investors have trusted you with their capital. Something that other people can't say, or say something so unique that people lean forward and say, I need that, I want that, we've been looking for that. Otherwise, they have no reason to respond to you, and they don't owe you a response. Sometimes people will meet a family office at one of our events, or see them being interviewed on our YouTube channel and say, oh, I interviewed John, or I met him, but when I followed up, they didn't respond. People aren't responding to me. Many times, deals get done here in the room, and we've got 100+ examples of that, but nobody on planet Earth really owes you a response to emails and pitches and requests for their time. There's just too many to physically respond to, even if they're trying to be very responsive and helpful to everybody. And so it has to be dialed in, and you have 1 or 2 seconds, really 3 to 5 seconds, 1 sentence to get their attention. Obviously, like Lisa says, if it comes through a referral, then you've earned more of their time to identify whether they should be meeting with you or not. We talked about picking a niche this morning and yesterday, and trying to be number 1 in the niche through outlearning others. Here's an example of a visual showing some hard numbers, how many assets you've purchased, what your track record is, how many investors have trusted you, just to make it real and practical. Showing a geographical map of where you're covering your sales territory for an operating company, et cetera, is important. Having a picture where you don't look like you're going to eat somebody's young, and it's not a wedding picture with an arm cut off around you, or 6 different types of pictures from team members, so you can tell they were not professionally done, and it makes people start to wonder, are these board members just someone that they talk to once a year and they got the permission to put it on their PowerPoint presentation, hopefully? Or is this like a real formalized team that I should be taking seriously because somebody else has taken this seriously and built a serious company? That's what people are trying to de-risk, and if they're asking themselves, should I trust this person? The automatic subconscious answer is, I'm really busy. Nope, maybe let's move on. I'll see, not now, maybe later. And that happens quite a bit. A timeline diagram is a great way to tell a story. You could spend the whole meeting with somebody just going over the timeline and story of the development of your firm. Most pitch decks and one-pagers do not have a timeline of major milestones, and that really tells the story of your business, your evolution, et cetera. So I'd really encourage you to make this. Again, all of these ideas I've shared cost absolutely nothing, assuming you have a webcam or an iPhone, or you might have to pay a graphic designer $1,000 or less for all of these ideas combined. And almost nobody has all of these in this room, in my experience. If you are a founder, raising capital, developing real estate, or you're an investor, would love for you to get involved in the Family Office Club. I've run this community for 18 years now. We've hosted 300 live events. We have 17 million social media group members and followers. We have the #1 YouTube channel on family offices. We have the #1 most popular podcast on family offices. You can learn more about us and our membership options at familyoffices.com. We have 30 in-person events planned in 2026 and another dozen events this year. Please go to familyoffices.com to learn more.